Yep. So I just take this opportunity to explore something here, and that is the nature of price being price, cost being costs, and the only bit you can really work on is the bit in the middle. So if you take market price of something that's fast moving as you're talking about,
a pound an orchid,
probably the tolerance plus or minus on that pound an orchid is 95p up to £1 and 5 pence.
Probably.
That, you're either, it's literally the decision of whether you're going to be successful or not is based on a very, very small tolerance of price.
Because it's a commodity.
Yeah, that's right. And price has got nothing to do with cost. It's just price. That's what the market will stand.
Yeah.
So then you go back to your cost. That's your input costs. And that could be fertilizer. It could be loam. It could be seeds.
Plastic bats.
It could be the oil.
Well, sometimes they're buying in the orchids from somewhere else.
That's right. Maybe they are. But actually the tolerance, how much you can control that is relatively little. It's not, you can't suddenly drop these, like the price of oil, by 50%.
But the direct cost is usually only 50% of the total cost, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And the other 50% is all the fixed costs that you've got.
And hopefully your profit.
That's fantastic. So
Yes.
if you look at the expenses, which you do have control of, you can be in a position where you can actually affect the amount of profit you make by the expenses that and the model you're deploying your business. So if you've got a typical bureaucratic model, that's a hugely expensive model to run.
So you can turn the expenses down, but not below a certain point before the bureaucratic model goes into dysfunction.
Fantastic. So
it gets chaotic.
But also with a minimum wage, we live in an economy where the wage levels are largely dictated.
Yes.
Certainly at the minimum level. And if you deploy...
I think they've got quite a lot of people on the minimum wage.
Yeah. So if you, for instance, if you deploy a typical bureaucratic model, the minimum it can be is 11 people really to do your sales, to do your purchasing, to do your production, etc. You need 11 because it's the smallest number. If you can't make money from 11 people, you can't make money.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, if you're making a tiny amount, if you had 22, you'd be making a tiny amount times 2. That's the seductive thinking. But of course, actually...
Yes, but your bureaucracy grows faster than your people do.
Yeah. Which most people don't expect. Most people think it's fairly fixed and it will grow slower than the rest, but it actually grows faster, doesn't it?
But that's easy because you can go back to your old numbers from previous years, count for inflation on the way and still find that your old costs were lower than your current
that's
costs.
a good way to prove it.
Yeah,
to look back in history.
And of your own history.
Oh, I like that.
And of course, it always looks favourable because inflation has, meant the amount you're paying people and the amount admin was costing you was less in the past. But even factoring in for inflation, you were doing things smarter then.
Yes,
that's the problem.
It's depressing to think that we get worse over time.
And there's some great enticement to go down this well-trodden path of scaling up, but without noticing you're scaling up your costs faster.
Yeah.